we're here with you with the New Leaf podcast. It's just been massively inspiring, but it's also just reaffirming why you are so good as a network and why you are different.
We're very different as a network, and I think we're different for one reason: we're family.
Dan Hobbs is now the CEO of the business. January this year, he stepped up to the mark. How difficult was that? So you're saying there's up to 13 people from your own personal blood family?
I think so, yeah. It may be more. It may be more, but it's certainly not less. They said, what's your goal for the future? And everybody was going, I want a Ferrari, I want this, I want that. And I said, well, my son to be with me in business. And everybody laughed. I said, it's what I want. That's a dream come true. I'm generally the first person to visit someone who's sick. I'm a pastor, so I'm a person who really does have genuine care for people.
Whenever I speak to somebody and they've come in, whether it's through an academy, it's usually year 1, year 2, year 3, they start seeing the rewards.
Yeah, you can see rewards much more quickly than that, and we'll help people to see rewards in their first year. Yeah.
One of the things I really picked up on, though, on that was the fact that nearly 50% of your business is women.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a powerful thing, and we're very proud of that. We're very pleased. And I asked her the question, why do you think that is? And she said, because it's safe. So you go into a family environment as an advisor, you don't say, I'm going to talk about insurance. You say, what risk are you willing to take with your home, with your family?
So Mark, thank you so much for joining me today on the Financial Planner Life podcast. How are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm great, thank you. Feel great.
Mate, it's been an amazing day so far. We're here with you with the New Leaf podcast, and we're proud to be producing this podcast for you. And for me, being behind the scenes, listening to some of the stories about the people that have joined New Leaf, it's just been massively inspiring, but it's also just reaffirming why you are so good as a network and why you are different.
Yeah. We're very different as a network. And I think we're different for one reason: we're family. And I don't think anyone can say that really in the world of networks. Maybe one other, but we're truly family. I think we've got 12 or 13 family members in the business, and it's been really important to us to help nurture those family members and then extend that to our AR members who are now having family businesses likewise. So more and more family businesses are growing because of our mentality, I think.
So you're saying there's up to 13 people from your own personal blood family?
I think so, yeah. It may be more. It may be more, but it's certainly not less. Yeah. There's literally, my sister's been with me from day one, bless her. She never really was an administrator, and she's now the office director. She's the FD.
Yeah.
She learned that job all the way through from us being a zero business to being a 25 million pound turnover business. We've never borrowed any money. And I put her down to my sister. She's so careful. She has great integrity, and she cares about the business immensely. And I think she controls that element really, really well. No. But that's my sister, bless her. She was a care worker. And I said, look, sis, do you want to come on board? Because my PA won't come from Croydon. And we set up in Southend in Essex. Sheila, who was my PA for many years in the American Life days, she just wouldn't come. So I had her for so many years, and I thought, let's give my sister a go and see what happens. And she's run the business financially for all of these years, even till right this day. And she's 63 years old, bless her.
Oh, I love it. And obviously your son, Dan Hobbs, is now the CEO of the business. January this year, he stepped up to the mark. How difficult was that? Like for you as the father, the son in the business, was he challenging you every day?
No, not really. I mean, Dan is one of the most beautiful human beings. He's very humble. He cares deeply about New Leaf, and he's done so because he joined us from university. So he went to King's, learned his business, got his business degree there, and he joined the business. And I wasn't sure about it. It was a goal for me. I remember being on a course years ago, and I was about 25 years old. And Dan was just born. I was 24 when Dan was born. Been married 40 years. And they said, what's your goal for the future? And everybody was going, I want a Ferrari, I want this, I want that. And I said, well, my son to be with me in business. And everybody laughed. I said, it's what I want. That's what I want. And it's happened. And that's a dream. That's a dream come true. But I think a dad and son relationship, it's really tricky for the son, especially if the dad has been driving the business forward. And as the son grows in competence and knowledge and know-how like Dan has, it's really difficult for the dad to step back. So I've mentally stepped back and allowed my son to grow. And I think that's really important. It's a message I give to any father and son business. The dad at some point has got to trust his boy or his girl, his daughter, to get along in the business. And Dan has just moved this business forward immensely. I don't even know what this is, a podcast. I know a thing about it, but nothing. I would have never done this. So Dan's moving the business forward to another trajectory. My daughter's in the business, I must say. She's my PA, and she's wonderful PA. Because she cares so much as well. She worries about how many appointments I've got during the day. So I'm very blessed because I've got both my son and my daughter really close to me every single day.
I love it.
It's wonderful. But Dan, just saying about Dan, he's got such a strong personality. He's not an emotive person in any sense of the way. He's very strong in his business emphasis. He's very clear. He's very concise about what he wants and what he wants to do with the business going forward. And I'm lucky; I can just let him run with it now. Yeah. And he's given me a job, which is great because I'm doing all the recruitment and I'm doing all the growth and the coaching in the business. So I'm free from all the noise. He's allowed me to be free from all the compliance and the noise, the day-to-day complaints, the stuff that happens on a daily basis in a big business like this. Dan has taken that away from me and he said, "What do you want to do, Dad?" And I said, "I'd love to do the growth." And he said, "Let's go." So I think I'm in a really wonderful position now in my last, years in business generally. I was definitely conflicted because I've always said, I'm 60 now, and I always said, I will never work past 60. You've got to be a failure if you have to work past 60. And now I can't, I don't know, I've got this lovely job where I just recruit people and enjoy being, meeting different people every day and bringing them into this wonderful family, which is New Leaf Distribution.
Well, I love it. Well, look, Financial Planner Life is all about careers of those that work within the financial planning profession, whether they're employed financial planners, self-employed, they go on to run their own business, power planners, administrators. We've had it all on the podcast. It's all about sharing the journey, the ups, the downs, the reality. Now, you mentioned something a second ago. Dan takes care of all the compliance stuff, any complaints that might come through, any of the stuff that might pull your hair out when you're running your own business, right? And essentially, that's what a network is, right? The network's there to sit in between the advisor running the firm and FCA and making sure everything's running smoothly to get rid of those Gabriel reports, all the things that you would have to do if you were directly authorized. So let's just talk a little bit about the value you add and what New Leaf would actually add to a financial planner, whether they're currently self-employed or they're employed thinking about going self-employed. So let's talk about the benefits that you offer and some of the success that you've seen from people stepping into the world of New Leaf and getting that support from you as a network.
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I think what differentiates us is one thing: we develop people. We don't just develop them in business, we develop their thinking. So we change management people. We help them manage their lives. So first and foremost, yes, they're in financial services, but by default, they're in business. So what I first do with people is we say, you've got to make money. The bottom line is you've got to make money. You've got to be profitable. So what is your niche? What is your goal? Who do you want to serve? So what is your why in business? And as long as we can drag that out of people, because a lot of people turn up and they just start business and they don't really know why they're doing it. Unless you know why you're going to do something like this, you've got to go through so much negativity, so much failure. I always say 90% of your life in business is failure and 10% is joy. And if you're not willing to go through the really difficult drudgery on a daily basis forever of that 90% of negativity and failure and disappointment, you'll never be a multimillionaire. You'll never be a multimillionaire. You'll never be a millionaire because you can't possibly take it. You have to accept the fact that it's going to be really challenging. So when people join New Leaf, we don't spend a lot of time on regulation or compliance. That's a given. That's a given. That's just the foundation block. What we spend loads of time is, what is your thinking? How can we change your mentality? How can we move to a positive position? How can we take the 3 ingredients of success and build your activity knowledge, grow your know-how and your experience? We'll do that with you. But how do we inspire you to action? Because there's 3 ingredients to success: activity knowledge, know-how, and inspiration to action. That's it. You can find someone with the biggest motivation in the world. They're hungry, they're buzzing, they want success for whatever reason, and they'll be more successful than the person who's most learned.
Okay, you said one of the first ones you said there was activity knowledge.
Activity knowledge. This comes from W. Clement Stone, the success system that never fails. If you like, I have 2 Bibles. I have the Bible of my life, which is Jesus Christ and the Holy Bible. And I have the Bible of business, which is the success system that never fails by W. Clement Stone.
Are they both on the shelf next to each other?
No, not really. The Bible is on its own.
Yeah.
The Holy Bible sits on its own. But the success system sits with my library.
Well, talk to me about that success system then. If someone hasn't read the book, is it something you've implemented into?
Yeah, it's my blueprint.
I've heard about the blueprint. Yeah, tell us about this blueprint.
Well, the business I built a number of businesses, but this book has been the central piece of all my business life. So there are 7 essentials in the book. There's 7 essentials of management, and there's 7 essentials of sales in the book. And one of the things that always resonated with me in the book, it says, tiny hinges swing massive doors.
I like that.
Now think about that for a minute. We're all tiny hinges, but we can swing massive doors. We can do incredible things. New Leaf have never borrowed money. We've grown this business from 0 to the turnover it is now, which is multi-millions. It's taken us a long time because we've done it organically, but we give 10% of our profits to good charities. We support those. That's why we're called New Leaf Distribution, because we distribute wealth. We believe in that. But I don't believe you can do that until you're successful. Don't try and give until you're successful. You have to work extremely hard to build the momentum, first of all. And once the momentum's going, you have to keep it going. So I think everything for its season, that's the important part.
So let's say, I mean, you do a lot for new people coming into the profession, right?
We do, yeah.
So new people coming in, and they're going in self-employed.
Yeah.
Yeah? That's what you are. You're a network that supports people on a self-employed basis.
Yeah.
You give people that flexibility, that freedom to be able to go out and control their earnings, live the life that they want to live, which is pretty much what people want, right? Yeah. It's a bit of a fallacy that, being self-employed means you're free to do what you want. In reality, you're probably working more hours than you would be if you're employed a lot of the time. It's tough in the very, very beginning.
Yeah.
But how do you get those people that have never actually worked within financial planning before, for instance? How do you get them up and running and going out there and actually winning that business? Because those first couple of years, now, they're the toughest. Whenever I speak to somebody and they've come in, whether it's through an academy, it's usually year 1, year 2, year 3, they start seeing the rewards, of their work.
Yeah, you can see rewards much more quickly than that. And we'll help people to see rewards in their first year.
Right.
So I would expect 100,000 in the first year. I would expect it. If you tell people I expect 40,000 in the first year, they'll do 40,000. If you tell people I expect 100,000 in the first year, they'll probably do it. But there are only certain types of people that will do this. So there's 3 things I would say I look for when I recruit someone in, and I will tell people not to do it as well. So there are certain types of people that should be entrepreneurs. It's a new saying.
I love it,
but I like it. And there's many millionaires who are entrepreneurs, and to be an entrepreneur is very different and very difficult and very challenging. And the first thing you've got to do is tell your family, I'm going on a journey. And you've got to sit with your wife, you've got to sit with your children, and you're going to say, we are going to have to suffer for a bit. And there's going to be a point at which we're going to become very, very wealthy. But we've got to go on this journey together. Do you trust me? Will you let me go on this journey? And I'm married to a lady who's just incredible support to me, Tina. We've been married for 40 years. We got married when I was 19. She was 20 years old. And she's a person that says to me, if that's right for you, let's do it. And every single time I've gone into new ventures, I check in, I make sure she's ready for the cost, the price, and that's time. The big one is time. When I set up New Leaf, I was working 7 days a week for 7 years, to put that in perspective. So every single weekend I was training people on financial services, and all during the week I was running a business at a rate of knots. But what a great 7 years. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. But to get to your point, which is the right people, they have to have character. So when I look at someone, I look at their past and I ask them certain questions about their character. So character is very important in terms of integrity. So you've got to look at someone and see, do they have honesty, integrity, and a certain belief level in themselves. The second thing I think is really important is capacity. So having the capacity to learn is so important. If you don't have that capacity to be an open book, to be a sponge, I'm still a sponge. I'm growing massively all the time in my new role. I'm learning how to do it better. I'm reading. I'm trying to study all the time. I'm learning from great people. And I've got a coach. I mean, Andy Tailby is my coach. I'm his coach. This is a really lovely thing that we've had for many, many years. We help each other. Everybody needs a coach, by the way, a coach they can really trust. Someone who can tell you when you're doing things wrong and tell you when you're doing things right. So the capacity to learn. But the biggest thing for me is I look at someone and say, have you got the capacity to fail? Have you got the capacity to fall? Because you're going to fall. You're going to fail. as business gets bigger, crikey, there's loads of stumbling blocks. There's loads of challenges because people come after you. So that's another story for, I think, another day. The capacity to grow and the capacity to learn new things is the key thing for me. And then that leads to attitude. So if someone's got a positive mental attitude, it will exude from them. They have the face of it. So someone who is miserable, you see the miserable face. You see it. They can't change it. And they don't glow. They don't have this lovely light. You see people like Sam Chalice, who we talked about today, you'll see her glow. You'll see that motivational pride. And that's beautiful. That's what we're after. So I'm after character, capacity, and attitude when I sit with someone. And I'm really pushing for the attitude first, and then we can work on the other stuff. Integrity is just part of you or not. And you can also see that from history.
Yeah, I love it. And just talking about Samantha Chalice, I think what a fantastic episode to be on the sidelines watching today. And if anyone's listening to this podcast right now, you need to go over and listen to the New Leaf podcast and watch Samantha Chalice's episode, because I mean, she went from a 30k turnover to over 300,000 in 3 years with over 30 million under management. What a fantastic story.
Yeah.
So you go and listen to that and find out her journey.
Yeah.
One of the things I really picked up on though, on that was the fact that nearly 50% of your business is women.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a powerful thing, and we're very proud of that. We're very pleased. And I asked her the question, why do you think that is? And she said, because it's safe.
Ah, there we go.
It's family. It's we love it because we know we're safe here. And I think that's really important for me. I love that. And I think financial advisors who are women have an advantage over the men because they have that bedside manner. They understand the finances of the house because they generally run the house. And, you know, it's an old school image. But the new image is that there'll be great planners. And there's more and more coming through. I'm really fed up of going into rooms full of people like me, old men with grey hair. I really want to go into rooms full of vibrancy, young people growing in the business. And we're seeing that in New Leaf. And I think we're the only real academy that doesn't charge to join. You know, there's no entry fee. Your entry fee is your attitude. That's what we're about.
Well, let's talk about that then. You said the word academy. There's plenty of academies that are out there.
Yeah, there are. They say they are.
They say they are. Okay, so let's hear about your vision and what you do in respect of the New Leaf Academy. What are you offering people?
A lifelong academy.
A lifelong academy. I like it.
You'd have to pay to join, and you have to pay with your attitude and your attention and your hard work and your graft. People say about grit and determination and all of that, but there's no such thing as balance. I'm really sorry to tell everybody out there that they love this idea of balance. There is no such thing. You're either in or you're out. You've got to be fully in with your family behind you, supporting you. And maybe in the future, there might be some time for some balance. But who wants balance? Who wants damn balance? I don't want balance. I love working. I love it. I'm a grafter. I love working through and seeing the successes. Interviewing Samantha today is just beautiful to see that growth. And we've got hundreds of people like that who've come from absolutely nothing and are now multimillionaires. Look at Joel White. Joel White runs the biggest AR in New Leaf history. He's so far ahead of everybody else. Why? Because he listens, he learns, he's absorbed everything. He's only been with New Leaf 6 years. 1.7 million turnover. And he's only been with us 6 years, 5 or 6 years.
And he would have the opportunity to go directly authorised if he wanted to, but he's not. So why do you think that is?
We've had loads of discussions with him about that. And he has been conflicted about it quite often. And we've sat many times over the last 2 years in particular, not him so much, but his directors, thinking they'll make more money if they're directly authorised. And we just had a meeting, Dan and I, with the team there, and they've just had the realisation that even if they saved a few pennies here and there, they're not going to get the support network around them that will take them to the next level. So I think DA, would I go DA now? I tell you, no. I was part of a network. So when I was an AR back in the day, I was with a network that sold. And I loved being with that network because all I had to worry about was sales. And I had 100 advisors in a year. I went from 0 to 100 advisors, New Leaf, and that AR was sold, really without my knowledge. So I ended up with a new principal. So immediately we went DA. But I always say this, if I had been part of that network now, I'd never left. I love the support. I love that safety net. And if you've got a really good principal who really cares about you, I would stay with them. Why would you go DA and put your house on the line? Because don't forget, you are personally liable at every level if you go directly authorised. You've got PI, but you've still got personal liability. Whereas when you're with a network such as New Leaf Distribution, we have all that liability. We take all of that stress away and all that risk away. Your house is safe. That's the biggest differentiator between being DA and being an AR, without doubt. But having that comfort blanket around you, I get what you're saying. You've got the FCA stuff, you've got the Gabriel reports, you've got all the compliance to deal with, the regulation, supervision, but it's not that. It's, have you got a team around you that's going to nurture you, understand what you want, help you reach your goals, and absolutely love it when you do?
So let's just talk about new advisors then, because we're a distinct lack of advisors coming into the profession. You have been waxing lyrical on LinkedIn about mortgage and protection advisors and about the opportunity that you can provide mortgage and protection advisors if they two-peat across to New Leaf and started looking at financial planning.
Yeah.
Has that come to fruition? What's your experience of that so far?
Yeah, it's massively successful. So we won't take anyone now who's just a mortgage broker with no aspiration to be an IFA. So if I meet a mortgage business turning over $1 million a year and I ask the question, the first question I ask is, are you looking to have an IFA practice, a wealth and pensions practice? If they say no, I say, we're not the network for you. We're a growth network. We're a development network. We want you to be here in 20 years' time. I don't believe that a mortgage advisor will last with the AI. I just don't believe it will last.
I don't either.
And I think what will happen, it will be very quickly automated. I don't think it's going to happen in years. I think it's going to happen in 1 year, 2 years, very quickly. I hope I'm wrong, because we've got a beautiful group of mortgage advisors. But that sort of feeling that I've had for a long time has made me paranoid. So what I've done is made sure that we can convert them to an IFA status as quickly as possible. Because anything where you can coach and develop someone's thinking will last. So a financial planner who's got to take a set of goals from one place to another to reach the end point of someone's journey is always going to be required. But a mortgage transaction can easily be replicated by AI. So I think there's a big danger there for the future. I think advisors should seriously think about joining New Leaf Distribution to become financial advisors in the wealth and pension sector. And what a success we've had. We've got 108 financial advisors and over 60% have come from being mortgage brokers.
That's fantastic. So let's just talk about that transition from mortgage broking into IFA. Is there a timeline that you've seen? Have you seen successful practices transition quicker than others that maybe just quite can't let go of the mortgage advice?
So the key thing is you've got to give up your mortgage license.
Right.
So if you're going to become a financial planner, you have got to give up your mortgage license.
Go all in.
You've got to do it. So you've got to do it at the right time. So the best way to do this is to build a multi-advisor mortgage business and then actually have an IFA within that practice, whether it's yourself or whether it's somebody else. And then you can escalate the lead generation from the mortgage business into the financial planning side. And that works unbelievably well. We've got so many examples of it. Over 50 examples I could give you of advisors that have graduated, absolutely well from that status of mortgage advisor. But we've also had those mortgage advisors who become financial planners who don't let go of their mortgage license and they constantly struggle to change. They become glorified mortgage advisors, really. So my message to all of our members is if you're going to do it, you've got to do it properly. You've got to give up that mortgage license and become a financial planner because there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to give in that side of the business.
Do you tend to find that it's individuals or do you find it's businesses that are joining you?
That's a really good question. So most networks are one-man bands or one-woman bands. So you've got literally 1.5 advisors per AR. We are very different. We're still, I think, 1.7 or something, but our goal is very different. So what we do now is restrict the number of ARs. So we have 175 ARs currently. And as we bring a new AR in, we look at the bottom producing ARs and ask the questions, why is it so low? How can we change that? Put a business plan in place. If nothing changes, we give them 3 options. 1, they can join our academy business. 2, they can join an AR business. Or 3, they can move on to somewhere else. And that's working for us because the average business is growing in both numbers of advisors and also productivity. So if you go to the normal network, what's a normal network? I want 1,000 ARs, okay, and they're all producing 20 grand. Okay, well, we don't want that. We want 175 ARs who are producing high volumes, high quality, with a voluminous amount of advisors. Multi-advisor practices with all the genres within it. Every permission area is covered except for DB transfers. Every permission area is covered. We cover things like healthcare. So the NHS is struggling. It's a beautiful thing, but it's struggling right now. And people need to look at that and say, okay, how can I change that? Well, I can take PMI. And our healthcare side is really important to our members. Our will writing side is really important to our members as well. But let me tell you, the foundation of financial advice is protection.
Yeah.
And it's really undermined And it's something that Dan Hobbs is really leading the way with. He's going to build an amazing insurance opportunity for our advisors. We don't do loaded premiums, by the way. Don't join a network that has loaded premiums, folks. Never. And there are a lot of big networks that have loaded premiums. And what I mean by that is the clients are paying 12 to 15% more on the same day at the same time as our advisors giving advice on that same policy. So to get a higher level of commission, the networks will load the premiums. And what that means is the client is paying for that. Thank you very much. Don't get me wrong. All protection commissions are loaded to some degree. It's called IFA loading to allow for commission to be paid. But these networks are doing loaded on loaded. And they're getting 280% of the annual premium value, for example, whereas we get around 210 because we're not charging the client for it. So I think it's really important if you're choosing a network, the foundation of financial advice being protection, you need the best protection deal that's available. And we're one of the networks that have the best protection deal available. And that's so important. And the one thing I'm noticing with our members, we've got such longevity with our members. We've got members who've been with us 24 years. We're seeing a lot of deaths. We're seeing a lot of funerals. We're seeing our advisors going to these funerals and being thanked profusely for what they've done. So the attention to detail on protection now with our advisors is changing. Where it was perhaps about selling and getting some commission, now it's about advising and desperately advising people to get cover which is right for them. So Dan Hobbs is taking this network to a place where insurance is going to be paramount in our business in the future.
Well, it's the foundation of financial planning, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's insurance. You know, what happens in the event of a death or an illness? Yes. What would happen to you or your family?
Yeah.
Then it's like, well, what are you going to do when you retire? You've got enough money, and then the rest is investment, right? It's funny because a lot of them are chasing the investment first and don't even care about the foundational fund, the foundations of financial planning.
Yeah,
it's really interesting because I produced a podcast called Just Covered by Legal in General.
Okay,
so we sit there and it's just every time we go there, it's listening to advisors talking about the power of protection and the stories that they share about how they've helped families in those really tragic events.
Yeah.
And then they take those stories and they tell them to their clients. They're not afraid to have a conversation. I think some people might be a little bit afraid to have those uncomfortable conversations, or maybe they're being pushed towards the investment side. Like that's the AUM model. Whereas actually protection is a great foundation of actually getting you off the ground as well. And I see that, I suppose, the mortgage advisors coming across, they obviously understand protection because hopefully they might have been selling protection as well.
Yeah.
They're coming in and it's just that's a nice transition. I always think with new people coming into the profession, it's like, just focus on protection. There's nothing wrong with that. There's some really good business to be had in it and it's going to get you into those clients a little bit deeper.
But it has to be sold.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge with it. People don't like selling anymore and the regulator don't like disturbance techniques, but I want to save some lives here, right? So how do I do that? I do need to talk about what risk are you willing to take? So you go into a family environment as an advisor, you don't say, I'm going to talk about insurance. You say, what risk are you willing to take with your home, with your family? And they say, well, I don't want to take any risk. But you're totally exposed right now. Do you know that? And they say, what do you mean? I say, well, if you were to die tomorrow or your partner was to die tomorrow, it leaves you in a perilous position. Do you want us to look at this gap? And people go, yeah. So it's a different approach to selling and it's a passion approach. And for me, I learned it when I was at American Life. So I was a door-to-door salesman at American Life when I was very, very young. I was in my 20. And I made a lot of money. It was fantastic. But one year there was a postal strike. And this changed my life completely. And it was these moments, these clicks that happen that change your life. You've got to appreciate them. And I remember my manager, he said to me, you've got to go to Croydon and pick up a load of checks and deliver them. I said, no, but I want to sell. I want to be out selling today. I've got to feed my family. He said, Mark, you're going to have to go and get them. We've all got to do it. We've got to go and get the checks and deliver them locally. Anyway, the first one, I knocked on the door. They didn't give you a script. They didn't tell you what to say. You're going to a family that's lost someone. No training. Anyway, knocked on this door and this lady answered. I said, are you Mrs. So-and-so? And she said, I am. She looked distraught. I said, I've come from American Life. She said, oh, come in. And I had a check for about £80,000. And in those days, there was a lot of money. And it was a suicide. He jumped off the local car park. And I'll never forget this. She said, sit down, I'll get you a cup of tea. And she started hoovering around me. She got the hoover out and started hoovering around me like cleaning the place up. It was a really strange moment in my life. But I realized that what this check was doing for her was saving her. It was saving her family. It meant they could stay in their home. It meant their children go to the same schools. It meant so much. At that moment, I became this ferocious animal. of a salesman because I just kept her in my mind everywhere I went. I wouldn't let people off. I wouldn't let them think about it. I push people and close people really hard. I used to sell 15 policies every single week, and that could still be done today. People could go out and actually find clients. If you said, there was a guy called Zafar Ahmed, if he's listening, I love you, Zafar. He was one of my top advisors in the history of my life. And Zaf said to this other advisor who couldn't make sales, he said, I'll show you how to make sales. And he stood outside East Croydon Station, and he said he had this advisor next to him who couldn't make sales. And he said, anyone want life assurance? Anyone want life assurance? They did it all day. They made 2 sales. And you can do that today, you know. ICOBS does allow you to cold call for insurance.
Really?
I'm not saying it works. It would do if you're willing to do it. But of course, we want to work with introducers. Of course, we want to build relationships. Of course, we want to go networking, and we want to find the best ways to get sales and give advice. But it's that simple. Everybody knows someone. Everybody has a group of people they can speak to, and they can start with insurance or wills, whatever they want to do. So with New Leaf, you're going to get that different approach. And I just want to quickly go back to new people. It doesn't mean new people have got to be young into the industry. What about the old guys and girls? I've just taken on a 70-year-old. He just sold his business and he doesn't want to retire. When I met him, energetic, motivated, hungry. And I said, you do know you're going on a journey which is difficult. And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, you're 70. And when you're giving advice on pensions and investments, you're not going to be there when they retire. And he says, yeah, but I bring so much knowledge and experience, and I'll get a succession plan in place. Wonderful. So don't be afraid if you're 50, 60, 70. Our oldest advisor is 80. He's been with us for 15 years. He left us and went to St. James's Place, and he soon came back, let me tell you. I'm not going to get into that, but he came back home, and he had to pay to get out and come back to us. I remember meeting him at the Costa, and he said, don't say it, I told you so. But, you know, Keith Harvey, he's a wonderful proponent for us. He's a wonderful person we can look up to and say, he's 80 and he's still writing lots of business, highly motivated, funds under management and so on. So when I say new people, I mean young people.
Yeah.
I mean everybody.
No,
because
100%.
everybody can start a new business.
Yeah.
With New Leaf.
100%. No, absolutely. And I think that, you know, the career switches are the most interesting ones when people get to a point in their career where they're thinking like, maybe they've done really well. They've earned some good money. Maybe they're bored. You know, some people like do a career for like 20 years from 20 years old, and they're thinking, do you know, I've had enough. And 40 years old, they're thinking they want to do something different.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because obviously I did 16 years in recruitment.
Yeah.
And the amount of experience you actually you gain in recruitment is insane. So I had somebody come on the cash recently from St. James's Place, really, really cool guy. He was actually at my golf day recently, which is really good fun. Top recruiter, moved into financial planning. He's absolutely killing it.
Yeah.
Absolutely killing it because the amount of skills that you have being in a 360 role, whether it's clients, candidates, marketing, sales, persistence, prospecting, everything that you have is completely and utterly transferable. When you start to then look at the fact that you can build a recurring income model, it's exciting, it's interesting. And I sit here and I talk to financial planners all the day, all the time. And the amount of times I've sat there going like, well, I just build a financial advice business. I don't particularly want to be a financial advisor, but I definitely build a financial advice business.
Yeah.
You know, I know enough people.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
I think we had a conversation about that, didn't we? That's when I said to you. And that was, when I spoke to you, what was really interesting as well, and what kind of flicked a switch for me was, there isn't anybody out there really that can transition somebody across very early on in their career, even without CAS status, straight into an IFA position. And New Leaf can do that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, as I say, and I don't knock any network, don't get me wrong. I respect SJP in particular, to be honest.
I do as well, to be honest.
They're FTSE 100 business, for goodness sake. And they come from the old days like me of being direct sales force. I totally respect what they've done. There's a lot of collaboration in our industry. And I think that's wonderful. So what Dan Hobbs does, he goes out and he works with the different networks, and they really know each other really well. And they love Dan, to be honest. But what's happening is they're referring people to us, because I don't know if they reflect on it and say they'll get a good home and then perhaps we'll steal them back later. Maybe that's what's happening. But
warming them up.
And it could happen, and good luck if it does, because people have got to go to their right home. But I think we're now the home, known as the home of the new advisor, whatever age, whatever genre. We're the home of the new advisor because we absolutely take people from zero to competent and beyond, and long-term competence within every framework of the business. So whilst I respect the other networks, I really love what we do. And I think we're very, very different. So we are the network that knows your name. And that's not just a tagline. I think me and Dan know pretty much everybody in terms of their family. Not, of course, we know them and their name, but I think we know their families and we know the background story to everybody. And over the years, when we say we give to charity, we've also given a lot to our own advisors. We've supported our advisors through great difficulty. I'm generally the first person to visit someone who's sick. I'm a pastor, so I'm a person who really does have genuine care for people. It's just something in me. I don't know what it is. I don't know where it's come from, but I really love people. I really care for people. I can switch the switch on that as well, though. If someone's not respectful or doesn't have that same care towards us, we get that as well. But they're not going to work with us for long. On the IFA side, we've had about one leaver in the last, I think, 5 years? One leaver, whereas the turnover for networks is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So I think the IFA site for us is the future. Bringing new people is beautiful to see. What we find are the most successful people are people who've been in business before. So been in business before, had some kind of business, nothing to do with FS, but they've had the acumen. They know the struggle when you first start. So when they come in, their expectations are, I'm going to struggle. It's going to be a challenge. But after that, I know I'm going to get wealthy. So yeah, for me, it's a very exciting future, bringing in these new people into the industry.
You're out there, you're talking to people all the time. What are the biggest challenges that you're hearing from financial planners at the moment? What's the biggest grumbles? What's the biggest worries?
I'm not getting anything.
Nothing.
From our members, honestly.
Outside of your members, if you're going out and you're speaking to, because you do recruitment, right? So
I do recruitment.
You speak to financial planners that are outside of your membership.
Yeah.
What are their biggest challenges?
What are their gripes?
Yeah, what are their gripes, what are their challenges, what are they telling you?
Over compliance.
Is it?
Yeah, it's mostly over compliance, and it's also the big brother thing. And it's also the thing about they think they're my boss. The network actually control me, and they're rude to them. They're obnoxious to them. And that's the main story. So let's flip that. I did a preach on Sunday about the servant Jesus washing the feet of his disciples. I've got to remember now, Matthew 13, verse 1 to 17. And if I've got that wrong, I apologize.
I'm glad you remembered that, because I couldn't remember.
I know my Bible really well. But the thing about Jesus washing the feet of his disciples, don't forget Judas is sitting there. So Judas sits on the left-hand side. All of his disciples are watching Jesus wash the feet. He starts with Peter, and he washes all of their feet, and he says to them, you must wash each other's feet. And you've got John on the right-hand side, who's conciliatory. You've got the other disciples head in their hands that Jesus, God on earth, is actually washing our feet. And you've got Judas unstrapping his sandal. You wash my feet. It's a completely beautiful picture. Actually, you'll see that in the Tate Gallery, the picture of it.
Is it?
Itself, yeah. The washing of the feet. You see it in my house as well. It's in my hallway. Not the original. A 55 quid version, printed and put in a frame. But my point here is we have to serve. We have to give, and we have to serve, and we have to respect the fact that those people trust us. We are definitely not a network that believe that you owe us. We're a network because we're people that know we owe you. Without you, we don't have a business. Without you, we don't have a future. But equally, without us, it's the same thing for them. It's a joint venture. And I think that is the absolute difference. And that's what I love about New Leaf, is we love our members. And I know it's a cliche, but it's true. It's actually, you can believe it or not, I don't care. You'll experience it. So when you join us, you'll experience the love. And you experience the care and the attention to detail. Sometimes we have off days.
Of course.
It's not a perfect world. And we're not perfect people. But this is our passion, to look after our people and to serve them. And that picture of Jesus washing the feet of his disciples depicts, okay, it's a bit much, but it depicts New Leaf mentality, which is to serve.
I love that. I think on that note, that's where we'll leave it.
Okay, well, thank you for interviewing me today. I really appreciate it. I never get to talk about myself.
Mate,
all my beautiful business.
Mate, you're definitely 100%.
All my beautiful son.
Exactly. You're 100% passionate about the business. And I think that love does come across considerably. Clearly, the advisors that you have in your member group are your family, and
100%.
You are serving them. They are your customers, and you're looking after them. And by the sounds of it, because you do bleat on about this a lot on LinkedIn, you're not ever going to sell. Is that right?
Never. Dan might. No, I'm never going to sell. But obviously, I'm going to give my shares at some point.
Yeah.
So to my kids, and my future plan is one day at a time. Sweet Jesus.
I love it.
Literally one day at a time. If I can say quickly, I love the interview with the head of Gucci, and she's a senior, And they said, when are you going to retire? She said, I'm sick of people asking me that question, to the point that I always say to them, today's got enough problems of its own without me worrying about tomorrow. So it's like one day at a time. There may be a point where I say, you know what, I've had it. But at the moment, I'm loving it. I'm supporting my son. I've got this beautiful executive team. So imagine this quickly. You've got 4 boys who join you from either college, school, or university. So Sam Wallace, university, straight into New Leaf. Dan Hobbs, university, straight into New Leaf. Josh, straight out of college to New Leaf. And Brad, who is my nephew, straight out of school to New Leaf. And now look at these people. Dan Hobbs, CEO. Ted, operations director. Josh, sorry. I call him Ted because he's lovely and cuddly. Sam Wallace, managing director. And Brad Kenworthy, the youngest compliance director in the UK. Those 4 boys are all in their 30s. Daniel is 36. Sam is 36. Brad is 32. And Ted is 31. That is the future of New Leaf. Don't worry about looking at this old geezer. That is the future of New Leaf. And that's what I feel very strongly about. To have a succession plan is very important for all of the people listening. They've got to have that longevity in mind.
Perfect.